And a pleasant good evening to you and yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski, and tonight, finally, the knock has come back to a Brevard County microphone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't know. Sports talk in Brevard County, and of course, I'll get him on here in a second. But also joining us tonight will be our man, of course, my right-hand man, Caleb Brown. And as we always do, we'll start with local sports coming up here in just a second. But let me get my man on here, just to talk a little bit and just see what you've been up to, man. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Anthony Nachreiner.
Hey,
Knock, how's it going, buddy?
Woo. I appreciate you having me in now. I'm glad we were able to get this going, man. And it's been going, man. Like I said, I've been back home a little bit now. I've been working the pizza station at the family restaurant this last year. Been a bit different, but at the same time, been fun. Let's put it this way, Alan. I didn't know how to toss pizza dough a year ago at this time.
Now you're a pro.
Now I can make you a 24-inch pizza if you like.
Well, Knock, what is it like? And by the way, Anthony Nachreiner, quite a resume in media. Of course, the Friday Night Locker Room with Steve Wilson and Orville Susong. That's how we found each other. He asked me. I came with him. We broadcast high school football for a year, I think 2 years.
Yep.
And Anthony then left me high and dry and took off to Kalispell, Montana, and did his own show out there for a couple of years, The Knock on Sports. Anthony, your entire experience, do you miss it?
Do I miss Montana or do I just miss doing the media?
You just miss sports talk.
I miss sports talk. I miss it all the time. I constantly I watch what you guys do, obviously. I keep up with our good friend Mark Moses as well. I miss it. I will say it's funny because one of the things, like at the time when you and I were doing it together, you kind of knew me more as I wanted to do more play-by-play. I really wasn't that comfortable with sports talk. But now it's completely flipped. I love doing sports talk more than I love doing play-by-play. And I got to say, like, that time in Montana, and then you know this as well, Alan, because you've hosted shows by yourself as well. But literally hosting a show and getting the time to be able to put in the reps to learn how to do it, create monologues, create content where you don't evaporate content in 5 minutes, that's something that I've learned and I feel a lot stronger about now than probably the first time around when you and I were together doing your show back then.
Yeah, when you look back, because we were over there on Saturdays over on 15, 16. We had a blast doing that.
Yep.
And I kind of felt like that when we were doing that, there wasn't a lot of co-hosting, co-producing, all that going on. Man, we really had a good time doing that show, man. We got some great guests in that studio. Aside from Orville, we got Trey Nixon.
We got Trey. I remember we did get Trey in. And we had great guys on the phone as well. I know you had your guys that were covering horse racing because we covered the Kentucky Derby.
It all.
Yeah, we did a lot of things, and that was a lot of fun to do as well. Like I said, I enjoyed doing that with you on Saturday mornings. You always came in with that Capitals jersey on.
Yeah, man.
I don't know how you wore that thing in there with that hot studio, especially as we got into May.
Well, back then I wasn't overweight and didn't sweat a lot. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't begin by thanking some of our outstanding sponsors. And, of course, Best Private Investigations and Gregory Buttrick and the job that his staff do is just simply tremendous. Of course, Beach Wave Volleyball Club and Club Director Michelle Rycross. She's got a great camp going on this week. How about 9 Round and the Shipmans? Patricia Shipman and 9 Round, 30-minute fitness, kickboxing, and then Uberzadi. And I tell you, Tim Stockton and the gang over at Uberzadi, magnificent. Kendall Signs. We get Kendall Signs in the fold. So we're just very blessed to have a lot of great people support this show. We got a lot of great topics coming up tonight, but just a little bit of housekeeping first in terms of what is coming up here on Brevard Sports Network. Tomorrow night, come on down to Walk-Ons. Tomorrow night, live from Walk-Ons in beautiful downtown Vieira. It is the first of 3 coaches shows tomorrow night. The first of 3, and we couldn't be more excited about that tomorrow night. So come on down tomorrow night, scheduled to appear. Let me see if I can remember all 5. David Kintai, Corey Broomfield, Ryan Schneider, Justin Warden, and I knew I would miss one because I always... Jake Owens. Jake Owens. You know why I forgot you, Jake? Because you're a Bengals fan. That's why I forgot you, buddy. But my guy, Jake Owens, and of course, we'll have a great conversation. Show 2 the following Wednesday, and then we'll wrap it all up on the 27th. So we'll obviously talk a little bit of local. And I want to get Anthony's perspective because you're a graduate of Melhigh in 1990.
I'm joking,
I was about
to say, man. I know I'm gray in the top, but I'm not that gray. No, 2008. 2008. When head coach Todd Wilson was there. Great coach from Melhigh.
Gotcha. Okay. A lot going on with Melbourne High School. They have really become that school in this county. I don't know what it was like when you were going there, but they have really become one of those schools in this county where every sport, they're dangerous.
Hey, I got to give props to Melbourne High softball, again, winning a state championship. I'm trying to think. I think that was the first one for Melhigh.
It was their first fast pitch. They did win a slow pitch state championship. But, man, goodness gracious, what a job that team did.
Well, just it goes credit to the entire program. I mean, I think back to the days of the basketball program. Absolutely tremendous job there. They are constantly going to state semifinals, and so the football team doing well now is even more exciting. I was really excited about their playoff run because I was trying to remember. And Alan, you're always a wealth of knowledge, but like from what I can remember, there was a long time Melbourne High, and this even goes for us when I played. We didn't get out of the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
this group.
35 years.
Yeah, 35 years. This group did. This group finally kind of broke that because I remember in 2004 when I was just a freshman, they had a great team, and they couldn't get out of the second round of that year either, and they were a really good football team then. So, like I said, I'm really excited, and I was really happy for the group last year. I can't wait to see what this group does this year. I constantly see, like, Cody Black and all those guys and what they're doing on the recruiting trail and where they're going and all the camps, and that's just really cool to see.
You're still very closely connected with a lot of guys on that staff, the Jeff Panucci's of the world.
Like I said, I congratulate him when he was out there. They do a fantastic job, and I'm glad that Melhigh is having success on the football field. And like I said, it's just great to see what this crew is doing, and it's fantastic.
On the screen right now is Jazzy Francic of the softball team, and late last week, Jazzy picked up the final national award. She was named the Max Preps Sophomore National Player of the Year. Jazzy won every national and local award fathomable. She was the 2022 Florida Dairy Farmers Miss Softball for the state of Florida. She was the Gatorade Florida Softball Player of the Year. Us, Florida Today, Space Coast Daily, all players of the year for Jazzy. There isn't an award out there that she didn't collect. And I got to tell you, it's one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive thing I've ever seen from a student athlete, Anthony.
No, with the awards she's racked up constantly, it feels like every week it's a guessing game. Okay, what award did she win this week? But but congratulations to her. Absolutely phenomenal work. And like I said, that team, it was fun to follow their run and to see them. Like I said, it was great to see what those girls were able to accomplish, and I'm glad they won because they took on some tough teams. And I remember you posted the article about what they talked about with those teams and how much inexperience they had.
Right.
I think it was a paper out of Tallahassee, or not Tallahassee, but out of the Panhandle.
Right.
That was talking about them. So great to see what the girls did. And again, it just speaks to the volumes because I remember how great the programs were across the board here when I left. But it feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, even though I've only gotten back for a year, it's almost gone tenfold up in terms of what these programs are now accomplishing across the board at all of Brevard County sports.
Yeah, no doubt. You look at Melbourne Satellite, the same deal. And so, yeah, it's impressive. I mean, last year, 2 teams going to the state championship in Merritt Island and Cocoa. Back when, even just 6 years ago or 5 years, 7 years ago when you and I were doing play-by-play, it was Cocoa, and that was it. That was the only team going to a state championship if any team had a chance to go to a state championship. Rockledge with Wayne Younger were beginning their climb, but they weren't in any position. Nobody considered them to be a state championship contender. It was just Cocoa.
And you and me were doing we're doing the season with Kevin Mays where they had just made it, and they were really establishing themselves in that race.
That's right, 2015 against St. Thomas Aquinas. That's exactly right. So, yeah, no doubt. Just just real quick, Little League action, and we always want to give a shout-out to the Little Leaguers. Congratulations to Vieira Suntory Junior All-Stars last night. Captured the Florida District 2 championship. They defeated the South Beach Little League twice, not once, but twice in this tournament. South Beach Little League, by the way, was the number 1 seed going into that tournament. So Vieira Suntory will move on to sectionals. I also want to give a big shout-out to Elliot Weissel. Now, Caleb, I know you did this story. Elliot was named the NISCA an All-American here in the United States. He picked up that status in the 200 and 500-yard free. Of course, Elliott also the state champ in the 200 and 500, and he repeated in what event? Was it the 200 or 500?
He repeated in the 500.
500 this year, so he's got an opportunity heading in. He's going to Indiana, right?
Yes.
He's just a junior, am I correct?
He's heading into his senior season. He's committed for the fall of 2023 to Indiana. So
Weissel with an opportunity to be a 3-time state champ in swimming, 3-time, 4-time, 5-time total, approaching Michael Phelps territory with those medals around his neck. In terms of in terms of local sports, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my buddies from the MCOA. They are returning to boys lacrosse. I love the MCOA, Mid-Coast Officials Association, but I have no idea really what this means. I just know that they're returning to lacrosse, and I'm glad that they are once again going to be on the field with Brevard County Lacrosse. All right, so really from a local perspective, that's it. Back up on the screen again is the show tomorrow night at Walk-Ons. Come on down. Once again, the first of 3 shows. So, with that said, we got a lot to talk about today, but let's have some fun first. And you might want to put the kids to bed here because in the background right now is that popular song by Fountains of Wayne, Stacy's Mom, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you hear it playing in the background, and if you know what I'm talking about, obviously we're going to reference the Zach Wilson situation as we get set to kick off our NFL coverage here. The thing I got to ask you, Knock, is all right, you had a very good explanation of how all of this has broke down.
Yes.
So Zach Wilson's ex is what?
So Zach Wilson's ex is dating his college roommate.
Is that a violation of bro code?
I mean, I feel like the college roommate has to at least give an explanation or at least be given a chance to explain before, just deeming him breaking the bro code. But at the same time, too, it kind of is. I mean, any way you slice it, it kind of is. But at the same time, Zach Wilson... he did.
He's not exactly
complicit
innocent in this, right?
Yeah, he's not exactly innocent in all of this, considering his actions. But either way, I mean, just the memes alone and the reaction to this entire story. Like, who had on their bingo card on a Sunday? Who had a Jets quarterback dominating headlines? And not for anything like on the field. We're not talking the butt fumble. We're not talking about seeing ghosts.
Right.
We're talking about he dominated headlines for doing something not on the football field.
Yeah, he had an affair with his mom's best friend. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is what the NFL has been reduced to in the offseason, huh?
Well, between that story and then, the NBA getting, or ESPN getting whacked because they tried to attribute a quote to John Morant that he didn't say, and they went with it this morning on, First Take and all the shows, and it's just like, you know how slow of a news day it is in July? When this story and others, they're literally drumming up content. That's just how slow a news day it is in sports.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And I got to be honest with you. I saw this and I was like, come on, this really can't be a story, can it? But it is. And we're talking about it. Caleb, your quick thoughts on this.
My only quick thought, I said when the story broke, here's my only qualm. When he says mom's best friend, is it a recent best friend? Or is it a best friend you grew up with? Because, if it's a recent best friend, whatever.
I don't care how she likes the pie. She broke girl code.
Yeah. I was about to say. I mean, she ain't the mom's best friend no more.
Right. No, that's for sure.
I don't know if we'll be seeing her at the book club at the end of the month.
That's a good segue. I said we were going to talk, and I apologize. So we'll say baseball for last. Let's just jump right into football. So that's where we are, obviously. I got a lot to get to with you, Anthony, and we'll start with the NFC South. So let's do that.
My favorite division.
Your favorite division. Fire the can. Well, first of all, I want to get your take. I know your hero. That's another guy we had on as a guest once. Didn't we have Gene Decker off on once?
Yeah, we had Gene. That's right. Yes, we had Gene.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad because he's retiring at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Brady delivers another Super Bowl for him to call one more time.
Well, he's got one more shot to do it.
He's got two, which is cool.
I'm going to turn. You guys are the Bucs fans, but before we get to that, let me ask you, Knock. And I want to go back to why did Tom Brady come back? Why did he come back?
I think Tom Brady came back because he decided that he still wanted to play and there was still a window of opportunity to get a Super Bowl in Tampa.
Okay.
I mean, here's the deal. I will say this. The reason why Tom Brady retired in the first place was because he knew he would be bombarded with questions if he didn't make a decision as early as he did. I think the only reason he made the decision, because he never filed paperwork. There was no paperwork ever filed. If you remember, Ali Marpet retired in the time that Tom Brady retired or was retired. He filed paperwork. Tom never did. So I think the only reason Tom announced his retirement was so that way he could actually take the time to make the decision whether he was going to, or at least talk to his family and decide, hey, can we go one more year? Because I do think this will be Brady's last year.
Yeah, no, I think it is too. Otherwise, I don't think he does the deal with Fox. I don't think he does any of that stuff. That's not Brady. I mean, Brady's got the wherewithal to look ahead for the future. That's not what I'm saying. But he's literally planned for the future now.
I was about to say, do you think he announced the deal with Fox so that way that way he appeased
Get
Giselle?
off his back?
Well, yeah, because Giselle's probably like, okay, we can't keep doing this one more year thing. Like, all right, you need to have a plan in place.
Did he
and I'll get
retire
off
or
your
did
back.
Giselle want him out?
We've been asking that
Yes.
question for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Caleb, what do you think? I mean, do you think he just announced?
I'm still one of the cynical ones that thinks it was possibly part of his plan to get Bruce out of his hair. Because remember, Bruce.
All right, what about that though? Go ahead.
You
Bruce
buy
was
that?
Yes.
See, this is what I knew we were going to get to this because this is where Knock and I disagreed 2 months ago on the Mark Moses show. So I knew we were going to get to this. Yeah, I do buy that. I don't think. And listen. It all. And the reason I buy it is because of this.
Are you buying it with Monopoly money?
Yeah, I am, I guess. But then why
spends.
wasn't what's his name named the head coach? Byron Leftwich. Why wasn't Leftwich named the head coach?
Because Leftwich is younger and Leftwich is going to get a job.
Yeah, I
Leftwich hasn't had a head coaching gig yet.
Yeah, I know.
Todd Bowles is the older guy. He's more likely not going to get another head coaching job. If it's gonna go to defensive coordinators, it's going to go to young defensive coordinators.
And here's why I felt like that. And then we got the Buccaneers schedule up on the screen. And here's why I felt like that this was a Bruce Arians was involved in this. Brady made no bones about it that he was not happy with the way the team was run coming down the stretch last year. He didn't think they were nearly as focused as they were before the year before. He didn't think that, that they were doing the things they needed to do to win another Super Bowl. Tom lays that, especially when he thinks he has a team that's capable of winning a Super Bowl. Tom lays that on the lap of the head coach. He will never, ever forgive Bill Belichick for losing to the Philadelphia Eagles benching Malcolm Butler. He'll never forgive Bill for that. So this, to me, I just think reeks of Brady comes back if Arians is not on the sidelines.
I mean, I just don't buy it. Brady was at the retirement. Bruce Arians is still in the building. I honestly do take this for the fact that, because here's the thing, Bruce Arians was still going to be the head coach if Brady wasn't here.
Right.
I buy what Bruce Arians was selling at the press conference. I think he did this for the reasons that he thought were right in giving Todd Bowles another head coaching job, and his guys continue to be the head coach because Jason Light and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization have shown that they will give coaches an opportunity. Yep. Now, granted, Greg Schiano only lasted 2 seasons. Raheem Morris only lasted 3 seasons. But at those points, those guys almost had to get fired because the negativity around it was just, I think Raheem Morris had a long losing streak. Greg Schiano started the season 0-8. It wasn't good, so you almost had to. You couldn't really give the guys another chance. But the Glazers have given coaches a chance. before. And the only time, and if you look at it, you look at Lovie Smith, he probably would have gotten more of an opportunity with the Bucs had it not been for the fact Dirk Cutter was being sought after, and they wanted to keep their offensive coordinator. So I don't necessarily buy that Bruce Arians had to go for Brady to come back. I just think that he wanted his guy there, and he wanted to have a successor in place because I think this team is there. Now, I will say this, though. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to put everything on Arians. Godwin got hurt. Fournette was out the last quarter of the season.
The injuries were ridiculous for this team.
Right. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, too. If we go back to our old playoff format, because the two is, like, honestly, since we've gone to the Super 7 with these playoff seedings, what 7-2 games been competitive? None. So I'm just like, if Tampa Bay has the bye instead, Tristan Wirfs is fully healthy. We have our best offensive lineman on the field. Now, again, you still have Von Miller to deal with, but I just don't know if Tampa Bay goes down as far and has as much trouble as they did.
Last year, they had the best pass. I mean, you had the second best defense last year in the National Football League with the 26th best. You had the second best offense in the National Football League last year with the 26th best rushing attack in the league last year. Obviously, you were number one in the league in passing. Defensively last year, you had the 13th best defense in the National Football League, third against the run, 21st against the pass. And that's the thing that teams could do against Tampa Bay last year was throw the football. What did the Bucs do to fix that in the offseason?
I feel like, and I was really excited about this, Logan Ryan, Keanu Neal are going to be huge. We re-signed Carlton Davis, which I think is going to be huge. But the biggest thing is, can the secondary stay healthy? Yeah. That was the huge problem the entire stretch. And you go back to the season opener. Dallas just abandoned the run. And if you're going to abandon the run, you're just going to force the pass, and that means we've got to get pressure. And at times last year, that's what hurt us too. JPP was never at full strength. So that means that we just didn't have our best pass rushers out there. And so I think this year, and it's been interesting because Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, our first-round pick from last year, has stayed in Tampa, has been training. And he's, I think, going to be the key in terms of our pass rush ability this year because that was the one thing we did. We got after the quarterback. And I know Kansas City's offensive line was missing 3 guys. But we were getting after the quarterback even more in those playoffs.
An interesting statistic about that defense last year that I thought was that they blitzed 41% of the time last year. That was the most in the National Football League with a banged-up secondary. Boy, I really thought they were taking some chances last year.
But do you have to because you don't trust the guys in the back end?
It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg
right.
here. 731, another number you need to know. No team is more pass-happy than Tampa Bay. 731 passes last season. Another number you need to know, 680. Conversely, no defense was thrown on more than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were last year, which I find to be pretty fascinating. As you said, Anthony, key player additions include Logan Ryan, Kenny Neal, Russell Gage, Shaq Mason, Fred Johnson, and Dearden Sanat, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah. Oh, and Akeem Hicks, too, that we just signed.
Yeah, Akeem Hicks. The draft, Logan Hall with the first pick there. In your pick, you had 2 picks in the second and a pick in the third. You got Logan Hall, Luke Gadecki, and Rashad White. Caleb, this is your team too, buddy. How do you see them?
I would like to see what they're going to do, what the secondary does to perform because with us having a blitz, it's funny you guys mentioned that we blitz so much. The blitz is what ended up ending our season because of the blitz.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp catches that pass and ends up scoring. So
can anybody is there anybody in this division capable now that Baker Mayfield's a Carolina Panther? Anthony, can anybody contend with Tampa Bay? I know there's teams that can beat them on and I know you're going to love to hear this. The Saints can beat them, obviously, right? I know, right?
But Caleb, tell me, do you hate the Saints as much as I do?
Oh, yeah, he does.
I was about to say, every Buccaneers fan is tired of the Saints. And I am obviously really over it. The crazy part is, though, is that I still have them. I have them at least going 1-1 this year in my schedule prediction. I have us still losing to the Saints one time. The Saints are still tough. I'm very curious to see what the Saints team does without Sean Payton. Now, again, Dennis Allen has done a great job with the defense. That defense is still going to be very good. But losing a play caller like Sean Payton, how does that translate for the Saints? I still think the Saints are going to be competitive. They're still going to be a really tough team. And it was funny because you and I were sharing how we think the division is going to shake up. I'll tell you this much. I still think that Carolina is going to struggle, but that's just because Baker's just getting there. But it almost wouldn't surprise me because what does Baker Mayfield always do? He needs a chip on his shoulder. And I can't find a bigger chip for Baker Mayfield in this situation.
He's got it. I'm surprised it wasn't Baker Mayfield in the Zach Wilson story. But,
I would say when the story first broke, like in your mind, don't you immediately think that sounds like a Baker Mayfield?
Right, exactly. That's the first thing I thought it was. Did they mean Baker Mayfield? I've actually got Carolina second in this division. I've got.
You got New Orleans third.
New Orleans third, right.
But we all agree Atlanta's at the bottom.
And Atlanta's in rebuilding mode. And even their head coach said that, everybody's rebuilding. No, not everybody.
You got to explain to me,
You are, not everybody.
Alan, you got to tell me, why do the Panthers take over the Saints? Carolina the second, you got New Orleans third.
I just think that defense, Carolina had a really, really good defense last year. In fact, let me give you the statistics on them. You look at that defense last year, they were second in the National Football League last year. They were 18th against the rush and 4th against the pass. They have an outstanding secondary. They get all those guys back. So I think the one missing element for Carolina was a quarterback. I mean, you got Christian McCaffrey if he can stay healthy, right? So
that's one of the biggest ifs.
So if you look at their depth chart, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrence Marshall at the wide receiver position. Now you put Baker Mayfield back there with Christian McCaffrey. I like their tight end and Ian Thomas. I just think that if points-wise, like they couldn't score any points last year.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold couldn't protect the football. So if you look at truly what an upgrade and I think Baker's an upgrade over Sam Darnold. I really do. I just think that Baker Mayfield will be worth 3 more wins to this team, maybe 4. And if that's the case, it's a 9-8 win team to me. For me, the Saints, everybody's still putting all their chips in on Jameis Winston, right? Jameis Winston's going to have this great – look, Jameis Winston missed a lot of last year. Now we're going to trust Jameis Winston to come back and be better.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't like he was blowing away the numbers when he was leading them. They were doing enough on offense to score points, again, and it was a lot of Alvin Kamara. But at the same time, too, it's not like that offense was scary. And, again, it bogged down even more, even though Taysom Hill was in there. But, again, I'm not sure I really fear. Even with all the wide receiver additions they've made. Okay, guess what? That means that Jameis Winston's going to be even more excited. When he gets excited, that means interceptions.
Right.
And so we'll see. I mean, again, he didn't throw nearly as many, but they didn't allow him to throw as many interceptions because they didn't give him the attempts. I think he was, like, towards the bottom of the league at the time in terms of attempts before he got injured. So it's going to be interesting. But here's the question for you. Who's the second best quarterback? Obviously, we know Tom Brady's the first. But if you're going to go with Baker, let's say Baker starts, who's the second best quarterback?
I'll go with Baker Mayfield.
Over Jameis and over Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. You, Caleb?
Yeah. For me, head and shoulders.
Yeah, okay. I think so.
I mean, when you look at what Baker Mayfield did last year, hurt, threw for 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions.
And he was tore up from the floor up last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt.
He just kept getting hurt more and more.
The Saints all – go ahead. I'm sorry, Caleb.
What my biggest thing about Baker Mayfield is I feel he's going to a downgrade of an offensive line. Up in Cleveland, they had themselves a decent offensive line, and that makes me have some question marks about this year for him, though.
Look, I like the addition of Jarvis Landry. Look, if they weren't concerned about their quarterback situation in New Orleans, which, by the way, offensively speaking, last year they were 28th in the National Football League. They were 15th running the ball and dead last in the National Football League last year throwing it. Mm-hmm. Dead last. And if they weren't concerned about their quarterback, they wouldn't bring a veteran guy in like an Andy Dalton.
No.
So I just think that the Saints, now with the addition of Baker in the the Carolina Panthers. Well, how many wins do your Buccaneers have? Let's go. I heard you do this on Moses' show, so I'm going to put you through this now. Let's go game by game, and Caleb, you tell me. Now, you're responsible for keeping track of your own wins and losses, all right? I'm going to give you the game, and you're going to tell me the result. Dallas, week 1. Go ahead, knock.
I'm going to say that's a win. Win on the road.
All right, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to help you guys out because it's hard to keep. All right, so Knox says a win. What do you got, Caleb?
I got a win as well.
At Dallas, at New Orleans.
See, the question is going to be whether or not Alvin Kamara is going to be available for this game.
Likely not.
Likely not. Likely not.
So far, the latest reports have been that the NFL is looking at about 6 weeks.
Okay, so now that's another weapon that New Orleans will not have. So I'm going to say they get a win here. I'm going to say we actually win in New Orleans.
Caleb?
A win in New Orleans, especially with Jameis. Jameis is still even being questioned to start week 1 with his injury. So,
Green Bay at home. Phenomenal game.
Phenomenal game. And Aaron Rodgers just plays poorly in Florida. He played poorly the first time he came down here when Tom Brady was here. He's going to play poorly again. I think the Bucs get a win here.
Caleb?
Bucs get a win. Aaron Rodgers does not have the weapons he did last time he came to Florida.
October 2nd, 8:20, Kansas City at home.
I'm going to this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to this game. I'm excited about this game. I say we lose this one, but we lose by 3 in this one. I just don't see us going 4-0. As much as I wish it, I just don't see it. I think we lose this one. I think in the 4-game stretch, that tough 4-game stretch, I think we can go 3-1.
Caleb?
I'm optimistic and say we're gonna win, and we're gonna win that one and go 4-0.
The Hotlanta Falcons.
No, win.
Win. Caleb, I'm not even going to ask you because I'm sure that's a win. At Pittsburgh.
For some strange reason, everybody thinks that we're going to trip in Pittsburgh, but this is Tom Brady. Might be Tom Brady's last time and last trip to Pittsburgh, so I think he gets the W.
And the Steelers aren't all that good. Caleb?
Win.
At Carolina?
Win.
Careful here, gentlemen. Home to Baltimore.
Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be interesting because, again, this is a vaunted rushing attack against the really stout Bucs defense that's good against the run. So that's going to be really the big question for me is, what plays are made for Baltimore in terms of passing the football against this defense. Can they make enough big plays to move the ball down the field through there? Because I just don't see Baltimore being able to really run the ball on Tampa. No offense, Alan.
No, none taken.
But I think Baltimore's defense is still going to be tough. I don't see this game being a high-scoring game. This is a Thursday night game at home. We haven't played well on Thursday night. I think we drop an L here.
Oh, you think you're losing, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Caleb.
This is where I think Tampa takes their first loss of the season.
All right, so I know Knox wouldn't like this one. The Rams.
Oh, I hate the Rams. I got the Bucs winning in Tampa. I think we finally shake whatever it is that about the Rams that we just can't beat them. We haven't been able to beat them when they had Jared Goff. We couldn't beat them. Now they have Matthew Stafford.
You got a 2-game losing streak here.
More than that, you got to go back a while. Like the last time that we beat the Los Angeles Rams was when Jameis Winston was the quarterback and he threw for like 500 yards, and it was like a 56-40-something ball game in the Coliseum, and that was like 2019. That was the last time Tampa beat the Rams.
No, I meant 2 games because you got them losing to the Ravens too.
Oh yeah, well, no, I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Bucs to win.
Oh, you're taking the Bucs to win. Oh,
I'm taking the Bucs to win.
What do you got, Caleb?
I actually have them taking a loss here. I think Baltimore and LA are going to be a two-game skid that will be the typical Tom Brady. All right. Rally the troops, guys. Get refocused.
Brady goes to. It sounds like a book. Brady goes to England or Germany, Munich, Seattle.
I think that's a W. I mean, Seattle. We don't even know what they're going to do. I'm not going to be downtrodden on Drew Lock. I don't think he got a fair shake in Denver. I think he can be a good quarterback. He's shown flashes. I don't know what Seattle's going to do with him because they want to, just run the football. But Seattle's in the midst of a rebuild. I think Tampa Bay wins this one.
Caleb?
I think they also pick up the win.
Yeah.
Although I'll make this bold prediction. I think we see Jimmy Garoppolo to Seattle because Pete Carroll, being as old as he is, I don't see him being a rebuild type at this age.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the next quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, Alan.
I'm telling you right now, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I honestly believe that's the deal that's going to happen. By the way,
Kyle Trask.
Yeah, no,
Kyle Trask.
Yeah, hold on. Who is the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers? I'm just curious.
John Lynch.
John Lynch.
The all-time great. All-time great 47. I've got a John Lynch jersey. The man is a legend.
I do think that Jimmy Garoppolo is destined to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Once we finish the schedule, you and I need to have a conversation.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man.
I was writing something about that today because I was reading a couple of stories on that, and I've got some strong opinions. I really want to know why you think that, but
I think that because I think.
How does he fit the offense?
Well, I mean, look, they're going to have to change it up once Brady goes anyway, right? No. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I just think that Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he's later in his career. Jimmy Garoppolo has the type of talent where he could come back and finish his career off something of a Rich Gannon type. He's got the arm. He does have the arm.
You think he has the arm?
I do.
Where? Where is the arm? I haven't seen it in San Francisco.
Well, he's got it.
Okay, fair enough.
All the guy does is win.
Here's my question for you: do the Bucs trade for him, or do we sign him after he's been cut?
No, I think that you guys end up trading for him. I think you give up very minimal for him, and I think you do.
What kind of cap hits he going to bring to the table?
I don't know.
It's a huge number. Well, at least I think. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, look, any quarterback you sign is going to be. Look, stop and think about it. We're going to talk about this when we talk about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is going to set the market, not because let me explain this. Well, I'll wait.
I'm giving so many looks to Alan right now.
I'll tell you why Lamar Jackson's going to set the market. It's not because of the type of player that he is. It's because how that signing is going to go down is how Lamar Jackson will reinvent the market. And he won't be the first to do it, by the way, because the first to have done this is Kirk Cousins. So we'll get to that in a minute, okay? Right. But you got to win in Seattle. All right, guys, we got to speed this up. At Cleveland, New Orleans, and San Francisco, what do you have there?
So it again depends on Deshaun Watson. I got us a win in Cleveland, and then who's after Cleveland?
New Orleans and San Fran.
We lose in New Orleans and Tampa again, as much as my heart breaks to say that, and then we beat San Francisco.
Beat your future quarterback.
Yes.
And go ahead, Caleb.
Same as Anthony.
All right, win. Cincinnati at Arizona, Carolina and Atlanta. Go ahead, Knock. Cincinnati at Arizona.
I'm going to say win. I'm going to say we go 4-0 down the stretch. 4-0. That's it, 4-0.
Caleb?
I say we have one loss, and I do believe it is to Cincinnati.
Saying you guys are, I don't believe they were giving out anything that was mind-altering at the door when you walked into the studios tonight. As I look at the schedule here, Knock, you've got a total of 1, 2, 3, so 13-4.
Yep.
13-4.
I'm going to say 11-6.
You're probably the more reasonable one of us right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I feel a lot of heart pumping here.
Yeah. Listen, I will say, though, I think Tampa Bay is favored in every game but one on their schedule right now.
Yeah.
They're favored in every one but one.
And I think they're going to beat the Ravens. All right. So that's the NFC South. Thursday night when Jackson returns, we're going to break down we go back to the AFC and we're going to do the AFC North. All right, guys, staying on football because we've got a couple more things to discuss here when it comes to the world of football. I want to talk about the aforementioned Lamar Jackson. The other day, Lamar put up a tweet with his "I need money." It said on his what is that called?
Grill.
The grills, right. But then Lamar comes out today and says that no, you got it all wrong. This has nothing to do about I want more money from the Ravens. He swears up and down it's not a message to the Baltimore Ravens. Instead, the photo comes from a character in the movie How High, which stars rapper Method Man and Redman. The I Need Money, who wears a gold grill on his teeth with those words, I need money. Let me say this. I am the ultimate Ravens fan. I was the ultimate Lamar Jackson defender when he came into the league. I love the fact that the Baltimore Ravens traded up to get Lamar. But people have this wrong. People think it's the Ravens. I watched some bunch of talking heads today who obviously have no clue about it. The Ravens are willing to pay Lamar Jackson whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. He won't sign a contract. Now, let me tell you why I think this is. I think Lamar Jackson understands that if he doesn't sign a contract this year, next year he signs a contract and he's franchised and he makes $32 million. The year after that, he's franchised again, i.e. Kirk Cousins, because you got to pay a franchise player the average of the top 5 players at that position, highest paid players at that position. The following season, Lamar Jackson would command a contract somewhere over $40 million. And then what happens is, well, you get guys like the Chargers quarterback coming up for his contract, and you get all these quarterbacks who were drafted over the last 3 years that are blowing this league up, that are coming up for their contracts. And so Lamar Jackson says, now I'm ready to sign. Here's what the market is now.
If that's the move, that's a hell of a move.
Well, it wouldn't shock me if it is.
And I mean, that's a smart move too, because you look at next year, the cap's supposed to go up next year.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Lamar's a weird cat when it comes to money, man. He just is. You know, he trusts his body. He's not one of these guys that says, now look, you know, there are people that I know within the Ravens, or one or two people that I know within the Ravens organization who felt as though, as the season wound down last year, that Lamar Jackson could have played, but maybe sat out not knowing which way he was going to go. Was he going to go ink a deal like a Josh Allen or something? But I think, you know, Lamar, he doesn't have an agent, okay, Lamar Jackson. So he's not pressed to pay 4% to somebody else. So he's not who is he making angry by not signing this contract that's not in his camp? It's just him and his mother. Mm-hmm. So don't be shocked if over the next 2 years Lamar Jackson makes $75 million in 1-year contracts, and then if he can stay healthy and he can get the Ravens to the playoffs the next couple of years, don't be surprised to see him sign a deal that is astronomical compared to what you see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes with.
I was about to say, you look at the top 5 right now. You look at Rodgers at 50, Deshaun Watson right now. Again, we'll see how that plays out, but 46 right now. Mahomes at 45, Allen at 43, Carr at 40. Those are your top 5 paid quarterbacks right now. So that would be that's the ultimate gamble too by Jackson, because he's betting on himself, and that's a lot of money to bet on. Because here's the other thing too, like you talked about, the playoffs are going to be key, because how much more difficult is the AFC playoffs now with the way the picture is structured? It's a lot easier to make the playoffs in the NFC now than it is in the AFC.
That's how confident Lamar Jackson is in Lamar Jackson, and he just is. I actually had the privilege to talk to the guy sitting next to him and interview him for about 5 minutes one time. And even after the interview, we were able to sit and talk for a little bit. This guy is so supremely confident in his abilities and what he does and how he does it. He bets on himself. And you know what? That's a good thing for the Ravens as long as they can keep him healthy.
But let me put this to you, Alan, because I think when I look at Lamar, did you think he was, even before the injury, do you think he was regressing? Because I know he won the MVP, and again, it's tough to keep those numbers. They're not always going to be the same, and they're not always going to exceed from the year before. But do you feel like Lamar regressed when he was healthy early on in the season? Was there regression?
Yeah, I thought there were some things that he wasn't doing that he had done the year before, honestly. But I will tell you this. I think a lot of that was due to the fact that the Ravens lost all three of their starting running backs before they stepped on the field last year. There was a lot of that. You want to talk about injuries. No team suffered more man injuries lost last year than the Baltimore Ravens. And that was the running back position. That was also on that offensive line as well. So I think a lot of it had to do with that. I wouldn't pin that all on Lamar. I mean, you look at his touchdowns last year, 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He was forcing a lot of balls last year. These idiots out here that say he's nothing but a running quarterback, well, you don't watch the guy play. 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions the year before, and in his MVP year, 36-9. The guy can throw the football. He looks great. He was just down in Coral Springs, I think it was, putting on a football camp. I just think that this is the ultimate move by Lamar Jackson. Don't be surprised if this is the move.
I mean, that's a heck of a move. I never would have thought of that in that way. But at the same time, too, that's very much so. You can make a lot of money on that. Now, you're taking a lot of risk, but it's a lot of risk and reward to make a ton of money. As you said, what's nearly $75
million in 2 years. And Lamar Jackson's the type of guy where, you know what? If he signed a deal for $35 or $32 million this year and $40 million next year, do you think Lamar Jackson's worried about how he's going to afford the rest of his life if anything happens to him in his NFL career? No, this young man has a head on his shoulders. He does. He is beloved by the city of Baltimore. Now, I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like his games, okay? Because the I need money and then the tweet about the Hollywood Brown being traded to Arizona, the WTF. He knew Brown was being traded to Arizona. He knew that well in advance. In fact, last year, Jackson and Brown talked about it. The Ravens organization spoke to Hollywood Brown last year, and they made him an agreement. They said, if you keep your mouth shut this year, go out and play the game, we'll get you out of here, and we'll make a deal you want. Mm-hmm. He did. That's what class organizations do. Yeah. That's what class players do. Hollywood Brown, I know another Brown that's a relative of his that could take a page out of his book in terms of how to act with class in an organization. Hollywood Brown he gets traded to Arizona, which is where he wanted to go. Lamar comes out the next day and he says, the WTF was just, I couldn't believe Hollywood was already in Arizona. And now this thing with the I need money, he's playing games. And see, that I don't like.
Well, he also removed the Baltimore Ravens from his Twitter profile, Twitter bio, which is a big deal. If you didn't know,
I don't like the games, and Lamar has stated on numerous occasions he wants to spend the rest of his career in Baltimore. He loves it there. They love him there.
I can agree with you. Like I said, because he doesn't have an agent, so it's not like negotiations are bogged down. It is entirely on him whether he wants to sign the contract or not. And like you said, the Ravens are willing to bend over backwards to get him to sign a contract. Let me ask you this, though, because this was just interesting as I have all these numbers up for paid quarterbacks. So would you – Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, would you put Lamar over either those four guys right now?
No.
Okay. The next highest paid quarterback is Derek Carr. I'd put Lamar Jackson over Derek Carr.
I would.
All right. Next guy's Matt Stafford. Matt just came off a Super Bowl run. Is Lamar Jackson, you think, worth more than Matt Stafford?
I do.
Okay. The next one's Dak Prescott. That one's easy for me. No offense to Dak, but I think Lamar Jackson's definitely.
I don't think there's any question.
Yeah. And then Russell Wilson would be the next one.
No.
Okay.
And I think Lamar is a better quarterback than Lamar, but I think when you have the complete package of leadership, what you bring to the table, how you bring it to the table, you wouldn't see Russell Wilson sending out a WTF or an I need money tweet. I thought Russell Wilson conducted himself with a ton of class during that entire situation with the trade from Seattle to Denver. But I think when you take the whole package, I'll take Russell Wilson. But if I'm going to go line up tomorrow, I'm going to take Lamar.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying there. Like I said, I'm just looking at the highest paid quarterbacks. Like I said, I think Carr, Stafford, and Prescott, I think easily move ahead. You move Lamar Jackson ahead of those guys, and like I said, I would have Lamar just below Rodgers, Watson, Mahomes, and Allen at this point.
And the other thing, Caleb, you got any thoughts on this?
You guys have summed it all up. See, I've been waiting for a day like this because when you two get on the mic, it's honestly magic, and this is coming from someone who just got a chance to listen to you guys live for the first time. So forget, this is fun for me.
The final NFL thing I want to get to is worst to first. Every year for the past 19 years, there has been a team that has finished last in the National Football League in their division one year and next the first year. In the AFC, the Jets, the Ravens, the Jaguars, or the Broncos. Of those four teams, who would you buy would go from worst to first? Caleb will give you this one first.
I mean, I like Denver here. I think, adding Russell Wilson. Denver had an underrated defense last year. My page is loading and won't show me the number, but I feel Denver had a very underrated defense last year. And you know what? Jerry Jeudy's showing that he can be a big primetime receiver in this league, and him and Russell having the ability to let him get open, and he doesn't need much time. That can be a dangerous combination up in Denver.
Okay. Knock, Jets, Ravens, Jags, or Broncos. Who goes from worst to first?
So I'm going to disagree with Caleb here. I like Denver. Again, I just don't know if Denver's got enough firepower to overcome the Chargers and Kansas City. It's going to be tough. The Raiders are going to be tough. That AFC West is just loaded. So I'm going to remove Denver because I don't think so. Baltimore would be the easy bet, I think, because Pittsburgh's down. Cincinnati, even though they did improve the offensive line, there's going to be a hangover from the Super Bowl. And Cleveland, I think they're in for a rebuild year. I think they're going to be picking in top 5 next year. So I would be the easy money for me would be Baltimore. But I'm going to take that one out of the equation because that's easy money. I would say it's the Jets. I think
the Bills?
Jets. If you're telling me if I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to go out there. I'd almost be willing to take the Jags, but I
take back what you just. There's no more magic left.
I'm just saying if I'm going to really take a risk on a worst to first team, I might have to change it because you're right. The Bills, I just don't see how they're going to go down. I would say the Jags because Tennessee's lost a lot.
I like that.
And the Colts. I mean, again, who's Matt Ryan throwing to? You can hand off to Jonathan Taylor, but who's he throwing to? So I'll take the Jags. I think the Jags have the best chance.
I'm with you. I'm going to go. The easy money says the Ravens or the Broncos here, right? But Doug Peterson at the helm, second year for good old Trevor for good old Trevor.
He might be Travis before the year.
Right, he might be Travis, right? I definitely think they'll be an improved team, but I think you know what. I'll take the Ravens. I got to go with the Ravens.
Right, but the Ravens would be easy money.
Yeah.
So so both of you guys, you pick Denver, Caleb. You pick the Ravens. I would pick the Ravens. Taking a risk here between the Jags and the Jets, two teams that have not been very good for quite some time. Which one would you pick to finish first this year?
Derek Smith is on. The former head coach of the Viera Hawks is on. And he's telling me that Lamar Jackson will be the next quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you like that, don't you? Billy Palmer
I don't know how that deal's going to swing, but I'm all for it.
Billy Palmer says, "What's up, Knock?" So, Coach has already jumped the gun to the NFC portion of this. He likes the Giants from worst to first.
Okay.
The Giants, the Lions, the Panthers, or the Seattle Seahawks. Who goes from worst to first? Knock, you're up first.
That is tough. I could say the Giants, and that's because that division is just chaos. You could make a case for I don't trust Dallas. Washington is dysfunction, but they were just in the playoffs a couple of years ago. I'm going to take Detroit.
Really? Okay.
I'm buying in on Dan Campbell. All right.
You're going to chew off some kneecaps, are you?
That's what
biting
I'm going
off
to do.
them kneecaps.
Caleb?
Actually, I'm with Knock on this one. I like Detroit. If you think about the rest of the division, aside from the Packers,
absolutely nuts. Go ahead.
Yes, I am nuts. Thank you very much. All right, look. The Bears. What are the Bears right now? Sorry, Mark Moses.
The Bears are going to be the worst team in that division, I think.
And then I don't have the faith in Minnesota. I really do not. I don't see what everybody else is seeing in Minnesota. And again, if you're going to call me crazy for that one, I'm here.
So you think what's his name is going? Yeah,
Yes.
you think he? I mean, isn't he like a clone of Carson Wentz?
I mean, here's the deal. I think with Detroit, I think there's enough buy-in. I mean, how many games were they in last year? That defense.
They almost beat the Ravens. I know that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is I think there's enough buy-in there, and I think they've done some nice things. I think again, here's the other thing too. I don't know what kind of season Jameson Williams is going to have for the Detroit Lions, but if he can make some kind of impact, that's huge for Goff. Along with what's the other receiver's name that finished really well last year? St. Brown or something?
Talking about Hawkinson or Khalif Raymond?
No, it's something St.
Amon
Brown.
Ross St. Brown? No.
Yeah, no, I think that might have been a St. Brown. I think it's St. Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he finished really strong last year at the end with Goff.
Right.
I just think Detroit, when you look at the division, again, we're talking about worst to first. More than likely, Detroit's not going. But if I'm going to take a risk, I'll take a risk on Detroit. There's bought in. I think Dan Campbell really has turned that organization.
So they lose to the 49ers 41-31 in the opening week. They get blown out by the Packers 35-19. They lose by 3 to the Ravens, a point to the Bears, 3 to the Vikings, smoked by the Bengals, by 9 to the Rams. Don't even want to talk about the Eagles game. They tied or lost to the Steelers. I'm sorry. They tied. Did they tie? They tied the Steelers 16-16. 3 points to the Browns. So, yeah, they were in some of these games last year. Yeah, I mean, the final game of the year against the Packers, a 37-30 Lion win. So.
Right. Again, to point out, Rodgers and them, they were pretty much done after the first couple series if they even played. So, again, and it is what it is. Detroit won. But like I said, I just think Campbell's got something there. I thought it would be a gimmick. I didn't think that team would buy in as much as they did throughout the season. So that's why I'm a believer now.
It's not going to be Seattle because they're not a good football team.
No.
It's not going to be Carolina because they're not going to beat the Buccaneers. So then that brings the Giants and the Lions. So you have to theoretically look at this and say, if there was one of them to do this, theoretically speaking, which team would it be? Well, if you're saying that it's going to be the New York Giants, then you're putting all your cards on the fact that Daniel Jones is going to have that big breakout season. For me, my money, that division belongs to the Eagles. I know I called you guys nuts, but if I have to pick one of these, I'll jump on your train and take the Lions.
Oh, see, I like that.
Right?
I like that. And I can't root for New York anyway.
I'll jump on your train and take the Lions. All right, let me step away here for about 30 seconds. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit. We were going to talk some college football. We'll do that next. Talk a little bit about realignment, get Knox' take on that, and then we'll go to baseball with the stat of the week, and then we'll end the show. All right, so you're watching right here on Brevard Sports Network, BSN Sports Talk. All right, welcome back here, and we want to thank Best Private Investigations, Beachway Volleyball Club, Uberzati 9 Round, everyone that supports and helps Brevard Sports Network do what we do. There's my good guy right there, Gregory Buttrick, 321-508-4492. I did forget one other thing. Do you like the name of Heinz Field to Acrisure Stadium? I'm not buying that.
No.
Ben Roethlisberger's not buying it either. Ben Roethlisberger said in a tweet, "I can't believe it. It doesn't seem right or real. Home will always be Heinz Field. I will never forget the last game and all the amazing fans at Forever Heinz." Ben, for me, it sounds ridiculous, and I'll always think of Chris Berman calling it the big ketchup bottle.
Yeah. So can we do something here? Because
Sure.
I think if there's a stadium that's been named and it's been that name for so long that that's all anybody's ever called it, why are we changing the name? Like it's like when and I'm going to switch to baseball for a quick second.
The almighty dollar.
I know, but still, call the field that.
I still like the right. No, I agree with that. I mean, it won't
I know
be,
they're buying the stadium name rights, but can we get off that? Because like when I go to Tampa, it's Raymond James Stadium. Now
Right.
they did buy the stadium rights.
No, what is Raymond James?
But it's Raymond James. I've never called it anything but Raymond James Stadium.
Right.
And it's the same. Like they don't change. They won't sell the name for Lambeau. They'll never change it. Heinz Field, like you said. And here's the other thing too. That they've already got. They don't have to pay anymore. Everybody already knows. Unless what's the name of the group?
Acrisure.
If they have this for the next 25 years, then maybe they'll get that status. But for the next 10 years of Steelers fans, it's Heinz Field. It's not
always going to be Heinz Field to me.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, it's Camden Yards. And, Camden Yards didn't change their name. Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Unless they've done it, then I don't know about it. But
Hey, your Orioles are doing well.
we're going to talk about that coming up. All right, real quick, I want to get your take on college football. But I want to ask you guys first. I saw a graph this week, and it could tie into what we're about to. On the screen right now, I don't know if you guys have your Facebook accounts pulled up, but on the screen right now are college football's most valuable programs. You guys got your Facebook accounts pulled up? No? Okay, good. Caleb, if you had to take a guess at which college football program, don't pull it up because I want to ask it as like a question. What do you think is the most expensive college football, the one worth the most money? I will tell you that the first two, 1 and 2, both hail from the same state.
I want to say USC.
Nope. Do you know?
Well, I mean, when you gave that little tidbit, that kind of screwed up my answer because I was going to go with Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if they hail from the same state, it's definitely not Notre Dame and Indiana or Purdue.
No. That's good.
That's either got to be Florida or Texas.
Texas. The Longhorns are number 1. Texas A&M 2.
How did Texas A&M get there?
Michigan 3. Alabama 4. Ohio State 5. Oklahoma 6. Georgia 7. Notre Dame 8. The Gators are 9. Auburn is 10. LSU 11. Tennessee, Penn State, Oregon, and FSU rounds out the top 14. Incredible. And I'll tell you why. Texas is the Longhorn Network. That's what makes Texas the most. What are your thoughts on all this? Does anything feel right anymore? USC and UCLA going to the Pac-10 or the Big Ten?
What does it matter? These are not regional conferences anymore. I have a buddy of mine. He's a big USC fan, and him and I go back and forth all the time because I'm a Notre Dame fan. He's a USC fan. But at the same time, I'm like, so you're telling me that USC is going to represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl and play Oregon from the Pac-12? How's that right? That doesn't make any sense to me. And here's the other thing. For all the college football purists, I used to hear this all the time, and I was always an NFL guy. Tampa Bay was always my team. I didn't have a college football team. Tampa was first. I like college football. But I remember I'd always ask, well, what do you like, the NFL or college football? The answer usually was, well, I like college football more. You can't say that anymore.
No.
College football, I mean, I almost say college football at this point is even worse than the NFL in terms of all the money and all the grabbing and all the greediness and all that.
Transferring, yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but if you're going to tell me that, you were worried about the NFL for its money and greed, college football has far surpassed it in the last 5 years.
So the latest thing that I saw today was an article in the USA Today by Blake Tauppenmeyer, who does some good work for the USA Today network, talking about a potential 20-team SEC and what that would look like. And if the SEC were to do it the right way, you take a look at the teams that have expanded into the SEC, and he points out Arkansas, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas A&M, and now Oklahoma and Texas. Other than Missouri, the rest of those schools fit the footprint of the SEC in terms of the South. Missouri, you get that big television market there in the Midwestern part of the United States. So that's good for the SEC. But when you look at the teams, if you're going to grow to a 20-team conference, obviously you're going to be poaching the ACC is where that's going to come from. The grant of rights agreement with the ACC, once again, may prevent this for a couple of years simply because, and if you don't know what grant of rights is, I'll explain it real quick. The ACC has a television contract with ABC and ESPN through 2036, and they have a grant of rights deal. So in other words, if Florida State says, we're going to leave the ACC and we're going to go to the SEC, and they haven't negotiated a buyout of a couple $100 million to the ACC says, fine, go. But just know that until 2036, we get all your television football money. So that's what the grant of rights deal does. So it's going to cost these schools $200, $300, $400 million to get out of the ACC. But if you're going to expand the SEC to 20 schools, Clemson and Florida State are obviously the first two schools you think of because they fit the school's footprint, right? I would even think you would want it Miami.
Yeah, I would agree. Miami, the money that goes with Miami, yeah, you'd want them.
I would think additionally you would take North Carolina.
Yeah.
I think you, although I think North Carolina and Duke are going to be a package deal to the Big Ten because I think that's going to be more about basketball than it is football.
Yeah, I know, but the SEC would love to have Duke in there. Duke and Kentucky on a regular basis.
It would never make any sense to see North Carolina go to the SEC and Duke go to the Big Ten. Those two schools are 30 miles apart. That would be the ruination of college football expansion because there isn't a living soul on this planet that could ever explain or justify that.
So I have a theory for you because here's the deal. Like, you brought this up and you sent this to me earlier today. I got a good buddy of mine. He was telling me, he's like, we're going to get to this point where it's going to be all this. I think in 10 years, we're going to go back to, all right, we're actually just going to do 10 or 12. We're going to be back to the regionalization. I know everybody's going after the money.
Should be.
But we're going to realize that, and here's the other thing, too. College football is also going to realize the group of five is going to be its own league. These top schools, all these top money schools, they're going to be in their own league. The FCS is going to stay where it's at. The group of five, they might mix with the FCS and maybe some FCS teams like we usually see with the SEC and the ACC. They'll still collect those buyouts because those programs still need that money. But I think we're going to see three tiers of college football, and I think it's going to be those elite programs. We'll go back to regionalization. We're going to see more or less one-on-one scheduling, not 20 years down the line. I just can't see this being sustainable for college football. This is cool and nice for the video game people, but it just doesn't work. There's no way.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I just it's a mess. And I guess once all the television contracts are settled, negotiated, and done, we'll know what we're looking at. And the sad part is I may never live to see. Because I think this is a process that's going to take another 20, 25 years before it all finally settles in. But I would love to see what college football looks like 25 years from now.
Do you think the golden era of college football has
passed us? I do. I think the golden era of college football was, and I've seen college football in the 70s when I was growing up, the 80s. With those great Miami teams and what they did, and I've seen the Notre Dames of the world, but I think the golden era of college football was from about 1985 till about 2005. I think those 20 years encompass the golden era of college football.
I completely agree with that. 85 and 2005 was kind of around that range for me.
It's a generation.
Yep.
And I think you saw the sport grow, but I think now it's outgrown itself to the point where. And I told Mark Moses this. To me, it literally feels like the SEC and the Big Ten would be the AAA to the National Football League. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten and the Pac, whatever it's going to be, would be the AA, and the rest of them A and A affiliates. I mean, that's just what it feels like to me.
I don't disagree with that at all because I think that's exactly how this is going to look. We're going to create those tiers. Like you said, I think the golden era is past us. Again, I don't mind watching college football. We're still going to get great games. There's no question about that.
And I still want all these kids to go play in these D1, P5 schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like I said, the aura of what college football was from 85 to 2005, those types of things, like just when I think the 90s, like I think those epic rivalries between Florida State and Florida, Spurrier and Bowden, you go back to even – hell, I'm trying to think of other ones off the top of my head. Tennessee and Florida. Those are ones that come to mind quickly for me.
Go ahead.
But
No, one of the best 30 for 30 documentaries you're ever going to see is Catholics and Convicts.
Yeah.
The Miami Notre Dame documentary about how those guys at Notre Dame sold those T-shirts and how Miami and how that rivalry played out. Those Miami teams, growing up in Baltimore, people used to say to me, how are you a college football fan? How can you not love this? Watching Miami get off the bus in military fatigues and, I mean, don't forget that teams like, even back then, the term when this team or that team is good, it's better for the sport because the sport's more relevant. That term comes from college football because when Penn State and USC and Notre Dame and all those schools are good, college football is at its finest. Those are the staple programs for college football. So that's why it was a big deal when Penn State was the original independent that broke off and joined a conference, and then Notre Dame was the lone left independent floating out there. So when Penn State did that, that was really the first domino back in the late 80s, early 90s that started to see the college football landscape change. And for another 15, 17 years, we got some good stuff. I think it overexpanded, and we are where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is in college football. It's tough because, again, it's like I liked what I saw back then. I enjoyed it. But at the same time, too, the college football world in sports is a constant change, and we don't know what to expect every single year. So it is what it is. We'll see what college football does going forward. And I'll be honest with you, Alan. My time in Montana, I've actually grown to like watching the FCS a little bit more than watching the FBS.
Yeah, it's fun. That's why I miss Florida. That's why I miss Florida Tech. That's why I miss Florida Tech football, Division II football, because it was great football. I got to know the head coach up at Western Florida pretty good, and I can remember being just as excited for Pete Shinnick and Western Florida when they won the national championship a couple of years ago. As I was for any football team I had cheered for. I was so happy for Shinnick and that team. And I just, I miss Division II football here on the Space Coast. And it's a shame it's not here. But I hear you. I love FCS, and it's just good football.
It really is. It's just fun. It's exciting. There's a lot of passionate fan bases that go into it, too.
All right, so let's shift our focus here. I do want to give a quick congratulations to my man, E.J. Murray, who took one of the best basketball teams in the state of Florida out to Indiana and won a national tournament, the East Coast United. There you see them on your screen there. So congratulations to E.J. Murray. Great job there, my friend. Baseball. Guys, when you look at baseball right now, the American League East is just sickening.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it is. I know. Look, your Brewers are in first place. We'll get to that in a minute. But I was doing some research today for the show tonight, and it just struck me that the Baltimore Orioles are one game under 500 and in last place in the American League East. Last place. Okay, at 43 and 44. They wouldn't be in last place in any other division in baseball. In fact, before we start talking a little bit of baseball, because I want to get your thoughts on it, this brings me to the best private investigation stat of the week, which I love. And once again, thanks to Gregory Buttrick and his great staff. The American League East this year, collectively combined, coming into today, 242 wins. They have 41 more than the Central, 34 more than the West. 9 more than the National League East. And the National League East is good. By the way, there are 2 other divisions in baseball that have 250-win teams in them, and the American League East is still the best division in baseball. 9 wins better than the American League East. 44 wins better than the National League Central. 16 wins better than the NL West. The AL East is 58 and 44 against the Central. They are 68 and 39 against the AL West, and the AL East is 28 and 20 in interleague play. There is one team in the American League that does not play in the American League East that does have a winning record against the AL East. And I know I told you guys. Go ahead, Caleb, spoil it.
The Twins.
The Minnesota Twins are the only team in the American League not in the AL East that have one. They're 13-10 against the American League East. The only team they have a losing record against in the AL East is the Yankees, and they're 1-2 against New York. Now they do have 11 games to play against the AL East, but I just think watching what we are seeing. Could this be, Anthony, would you ever buy that this could be by the time we get to the end of the year, if the Orioles don't fall apart like they normally do? Well, normally do. They never reach. Last time the Orioles had 43 wins at this point was 6 years ago. Could this be the greatest single season by one division in the history of baseball, you think?
If the Yankees keep going the way they're going, and these teams are just battling just to get into the second spot, because, I mean, the Red Sox are no slouch. The Rays have been banged up most of the time, and they're still winning. I think they got the best pitcher, Shane McClanahan. I wouldn't be shocked because – and that's the funny thing, too. The Toronto Blue Jays are fourth. They were the team that was picked to win the East this year.
I know.
And it's crazy because there's going to be – two teams. There's going to be out of the, and I would say just because of the way the playoffs are right now, you're talking about chances are the wild card would be the Rays and the Red Sox. Because they've got everybody else. So then you're talking about one of these teams that's going to have a winning record in the East isn't going to even have a chance at the playoffs.
Are the Yankees the best team in baseball though? The AL East may be the best division in baseball, but are the Yankees still the best team in the in all of Major League Baseball? Your opinion?
It's tough. I mean, there's so many good teams. I still don't bet against the Dodgers at this point, even as frustrating as that is to say. The Dodgers are really good. I don't trust anybody out of the East, NL East for that matter. Houston's still pretty good. But at the same time, here's the thing. The Yankees' offense seems to be getting it done because I couldn't tell you, besides Garrett Cole, who anybody else is starting for the Yankees at this point. That's the thing.
I tend to lean towards the Astros. Caleb, are the Yankees the best team in Major League Baseball?
I'm actually with you here. I like the Astros. I think the Stros have shown that if you can slow down an Aaron Judge, make him go over, you can shut down the rest of that Yankees lineup.
But that is, and I agree with you. I think the Astros are the best team in baseball. That is easier said than done. Did you happen to catch any of the Red Sox and the Yankees this weekend? Every time I looked on that damn television, the Yankees had 6 runs on the board.
Yep.
I didn't care what inning it was.
Oh yeah, no. I was watching. It was I think either the first or the second inning, and I'm like, oh, yep, the Yankees have already got 4 on the board.
They've hit 146 home runs this year. That's 12 more than the Braves. They have 427 RBIs as a team. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But once we get to October, what matters is what you do on the bump, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what matters? The best pitching team in baseball right now is the Dodgers. Next are the Astros. And third are the Yankees. The Dodgers carry a 2.96 team ERA. The Astros a 2.97. The Yankees 3.04. The Rays are right there too at a 3.37.
Well, here's the thing, though. Do you think the Yankees can really keep up this pace? I don't.
No, I don't. No.
I mean, now granted, they could likely just coast the rest of the way and still make the playoffs. Maybe this race gets a little bit tighter in terms of the division race, but chances are I don't think the Yankees keep this pace up because the most impressive part, they're 34-9 at home.
Yeah.
They haven't lost double digits yet at home. So 34 wins,
true.
that's a huge split. So I think it's tough to say because I hate saying it because the team that we think is the best team at the All-Star break, how many times have we seen that team also falter, have a 10-game losing streak or lose 15 out of 25,
they're 15-6 in April, 19-9 in May, 22-6 in June. So far, they're 5-4 in July. So, 500 right now. the only team. They have not a losing record against any team in Major League Baseball that they've played. The only team that they are 500 with. Oh, I'm sorry, Houston. Houston's beaten them 2 out of 3. And Pittsburgh has split a 2-game series with them, 61-25 in the first half.
Who had Pittsburgh?
Hey, who had that, right? Yeah, but for me, I like the Astros pitching staff. I like a guy like a Justin Verlander, who's having a phenomenal season. Guy's 39 years old, coming off of Tommy John surgery. What he has done this year is really, to me, the story of baseball. When you look at how he's come back. Now, because it's baseball, I'm sure a lot of questions are being answered as to how he's doing it, but I don't care. I love what Verlander's done this year.
Who should start the All-Star game for the AL?
I think you got to give it to Verlander.
Because of age?
Yeah,
even though he's
so.
Probably has he started for the AL before?
I'm sure he has. I have to look, but I think you got to let Justin Verlander
even though Shane McClanahan's having one hell of a year.
Yeah, I know he is, and the kid from Guzman from Toronto, who's a former Oriole draft pick as well. But look, and I'll tell you another team that we're not talking about because nobody here in the state of Florida cares about them. How about the year the Miami Marlins are having? The Marlins are having a pretty good year as well. Miami right now, 41-44. A couple of weeks ago, they had a couple of pitchers come out, and in consecutive innings, 2 different pitchers combined to throw 9 pitches and got 3 outs.
Wow.
3 strikeouts on 9 pitches. I can't remember what that's called. I don't have a Mraz here, a producer, to look that term up, but there's a term for it. And they did it twice, or in back-to-back innings. But the Miami Marlins are having a heck of a season compared to where they came from. But it's just a matter of time before when you look at their roster, there are future Red Sox and Yankees on there.
This is true. Go ahead, Caleb.
No, please.
I would just say, who do you got more faith in to not collapse, the Mets or the Marlins? I take the Mets. They're going to collapse. I don't care that they're first. They always collapse. Something always goes off the rails.
The Marlins are still 3 games under. I do like the and strike me down, but I didn't see who won last night between, and I should have looked, and I apologize, but I didn't look to see who won. Who won the game last night between the Mets and the Braves? I know right now Atlanta's beating them 4-1 in the top of the ninth, but I like the Braves to win that, to come back and win that division. I do. I said it a couple.
I like the Braves too, but yeah. I love making fun of the Mets.
No, I'm with you. I love watching them collapse too. I got quite a few friends out there that are Mets fans. Love you.
The answer to your question, the Mets won 4-1.
All right. Well, then the Braves will tie the series up tonight, and then we'll go to the rubber match tomorrow. So there you got it. All right. So, once again, the stat of the week up on the board. American League East, 242 wins. The next closest, best division in baseball, the NL East. And they got 250-win teams, by the way, 223 wins. So, that concludes. And I want to put my picture of my sister up on the screen, too, by the way. That's my lovely sister, Trina, and her husband, Dennis. Tonight, they are at Wrigley Field in Chicago watching the Orioles and the Cubs.
Wow.
Play. Yes. Yeah. And the Orioles in the top of the 8th with a 4-2 lead on them, baby. So that could be the Orioles' 5th win in a row.
Go Orioles.
And the Orioles are just, you know what? I didn't even play it. Let me put the standings up on the screen here. The Orioles are just 2 games out in the wild card standings right now. 2 out in the wild card. Now, that's not going to, I'm not getting my hopes up.
I was about to say, there's the optimistic Orioles fan I know and love.
Yeah, right? The Orioles win tonight. They'll be 44-44. They will be at the 500 plateau. So I'm excited for what awaits the Orioles' future. Andy Rutschman's up, and, I don't know if you saw that catch by Cedric Mullins a couple of weeks ago, but the Orioles, they got a good bullpen. So, we'll see. final thoughts on baseball, guys, before we move on, just to talk about whatever, like Top Gun.
Oh, good Lord. Listen, baseball-wise, I think it's going to be just exciting to see what we do in the second half. I mean, there's been a lot of interesting question marks, especially in the NL. I mean, as we talked about at length with the AL East, I don't think there's any question about the Yankees, but I think the interesting races will be in the National League. I mean, the NL East is going to be competitive. I know I made fun of the Mets there, but again, they're still first. You know the Braves are not going anywhere. So, and the Phillies aren't either. And like I said, I am encouraged by what the Marlins are doing. It's kind of nice to see them. And just hopefully they can reward their fans. But it'll be very interesting. The NL West will be tough. I'm curious to see if the Padres can catch the Dodgers. We'll see if the Giants can even do the same. And then I'm happy. My Brewers are top of the first, or they're number one right now.
Will they hang on?
I think so. They've got the pitching. It's crazy to me. As a Brewers fan, we had the bats in the lineup in the early 2000 teens, if you will. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the pitching.
Right.
If I could have the pitching that we have now with that lineup, we'd win a World Series.
Yeah.
But we have the pitching, which is really important. Burns, Woodruff just coming back is pitched really well. Peralta will be back soon. I just think our pitching will be able to get us through, and along with our bullpen. So I think pitching will get us done.
Caleb, you got any final thoughts on baseball, bud?
I'm hoping the Red Sox starting pitching can actually come back. Coming into this past weekend, they had five of their first rotation all injured before Chris Sale came back on Tuesday. So I'm hoping the rest of that pitching gets healthy so we can try to make a run. I don't think we're going to catch the Yankees, but it'd be nice to see a healthy pitching staff.
The Brewers, your Brewers need to get it together. They were 12-15 in the month of June. So far, 4-5. To start the month of July. Their big month was April, 15-7. Out of the gate. And so, and I tell you what, they're a good team. They're 16-12 in one-run games. So that pitching certainly.
Well, we haven't had. We just got Woodruff back. Peralta and Woodruff missed some time.
Okay.
And at the same time, too, this is the crazy part. Hader's been giving up a little bit in the back end, which isn't good. And then at the same time, too, Burns, he has that one occasional game. He'll have a stretch of good ones, and then there's one that just is just a complete flop. Now, again, great pitchers have it, but. Yeah, they got to get it together. It's just the lineup needs to.
They got to start hitting too. They're batting 230. They're starting lineup 237 as a team. That's not good. That's not going to get it done, and not against the Dodgers. No,
you got to put up runs.
Sure. That's for sure. All right, so I can close the book on sports. My friend, you have an addiction this summer.
I do.
Yes. Could you tell everybody what it is?
So. Top Gun Maverick has been it. I've watched it 4 times. There is a plan for a fifth.
Minute, you say watch like you went home, you turned the television on, and you flipped
I went to the
movie.
I spent hard-earned money 4 different times to watch the movie.
What is the fascination with it?
It's fun. It's great. Who doesn't love fast jets?
Is it
and
the
great
best
music
action movie? Mark Moses said it could be the best action movie he's ever seen.
I mean, that's really tough because I still love Armageddon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. So, and this is where Top Gun Maverick does it for me. It's on par with Armageddon because I can always, like, whenever Armageddon comes up on whatever station of the ones that play movies on the weekend, if I'm doing a chore, I'll be stopped and I'll watch Armageddon wherever it is. Even though I've seen how it ends and I've seen it 1,000 times, that movie stops me every time. Top Gun Maverick will be doing the same thing to me. And it's just a fun movie. Like, it really, really is just fun. It doesn't take itself super serious. It has its fun, and it's just a good movie. It just plays really well to the fact that it doesn't decide to get super dramatic. It's just like, okay, hey, we pick up with Maverick. We don't get super into the, obviously we know what happens in the first movie, but we don't have to pick up all the pieces from what happened between the first movie and this movie. So I'm good with that.
Armageddon, and I'm going to go see. I'm going to go see Top Gun. I've got.
I even used that movie for a date night.
I've got. Oh, really? Well, I think I'll do the same thing.
There you go.
I've been trying to do the same thing for 3 weeks now with Top Gun. Did go see Elvis. I enjoyed that. But there's a scene, and I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here. There is a scene in Armageddon that is just bone chilling. And it's up on the screen right now for people to see. When the comets or the asteroids or whatever they are start to come and hit the planet in New York City, they hit the World Trade Centers. There's a scene where it hits the World Trade Center, and it is so eerie to see the similarity between that and where those things hit, and there's the screens. It's coming up now. To me, it was just bone chilling to see that, and I don't know why, but when I saw the movie, I kept rewinding it, and I was like, I can't believe how this is so much like what occurred on September the 11th. It shook me at first. The first time I saw it, it shook me. But you're absolutely right. I love Armageddon. What's the best superhero movie you've ever seen?
I mean, Endgame's right there. Endgame, Batman Begins is still up there for me. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I gotta say Endgame. Endgame probably the top one. Endgame's got to be up there.
I'm still a Spider-Man guy. I still like.
Don't get me wrong. That Spider-Man No Way Home did it for me. I was never a big Spider-Man game. The new one, the one that just came out.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, that one you'll love. That one was fantastic. I thought that was the best Spider-Man movie out of all the attempts to do Spider-Man.
Well, Knock, I tell you, man.
We have to do this again soon.
We're going to do it again soon. It was my hope tonight, and now I'll come clean. It was my hope tonight to get Knock in studio, and I know he's got a enormous responsibility to the restaurant, but it was just I just wanted to give him that. I wanted to give you that itch, man. That itch to just.
You nailed it.
I think there's a big football game coming up this year between Melbourne and Cocoa. We're trying to get Knock on the call for that one. Boy, wouldn't it be great to see his alma mater go up against Cocoa, and they got a good chance against them this year.
I mean, listen, I want to say it was my sophomore year was the last time Cocoa and Melbourne played, and Melbourne played at Cocoa, and I'm trying to remember who was the quarterback. The name is very familiar. I almost want to say it was Wayne that was playing quarterback for that team that year.
Wayne Younger?
I want to say
could be graduated in I think graduated in 04 or 05.
Yeah, so it might have been. I think it might have been him. But either way, I remember that was a tough game. I know Melbourne didn't win it. I can't remember what the final score was, but that was interesting because that was the last time I remember Cocoa and Melbourne getting together. So, and believe me, that game is tantalizing to me. Believe me,
it is. It's on the table for you, Knock. It's on the table for you. No doubt about it. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed this tonight. There's just something about when I do this with you or do this with Mark and just the chemistry that we have and we as friends have built, not just on the mic but off the mic. And, you are, and I always say this guy right here is a big reason why I'm able to do what I do now, because had he not reached out to me and said, hey, I need a partner for broadcasting with the Friday Night Locker Room, chances are we're not sitting here doing this tonight. So I thank you.
Well, you were my first, you were my first podcast guest.
Really?
Yeah, because you were the first one. Because when I first got hired with Mark, I started doing the podcast.
Right.
And you were my first guest.
That's right. I do remember you telling me that. Oh, that's only because I was the guinea pig in case I screwed it up, which wouldn't be no doubt I did.
No, you were great. It was fun. It was fun because that was the first time you and I chatted. I think we maybe chatted on the phone one time beforehand. Yeah. But like I said, it was just fun because you were my first guest on the podcast when Mark let me have one with Sports Radio 1560. And like I said, it was fun. And then, we talked even more. It was great. Like I said, you've always been a friend, and it's been fun to see what you do. And I know I left you high and dry in Montana. The mountains came calling.
That's all right, buddy. You bettered yourself. You bettered your career, and I couldn't have been and couldn't be more happier for you. So thank you for coming tonight, Caleb. Final word from you, and then I'll give it to Knock, and then I'll sign us out.
Guys, I know I made the comment earlier, but just watching you two, it's pretty inspiring.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I know he appreciates that.
I appreciate that, bud.
Final word?
It's always been fun. I think you're dead wrong about Jimmy G. We can talk about that later. But no, it's fun, man. It's been great. Like we said at the break, took a quick break. It doesn't feel like an hour and a half has passed.
No.
It literally felt like we've only done this for about 30, 40 minutes. And that's how much fun it is.
No doubt. And of course, I just love doing this. And again, we got a big next couple of days coming up here. Of course, tomorrow night, once again, I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. Come on down to Walk-Ons tomorrow night and meet the coaches of the Melbourne Bulldogs, the Bayside Bears, the Astronaut War Eagles, the Palm Bay Pirates, and the Cocoa Tigers, in Ryan Schneider, Jake Owens, Justin Warden, Corey Broomfield, and David Kintai, as we kick off the first of 3 coaches' shows. And you're at Walk-Ons when you walk in and there's the helmets on the screen. You see those helmets when you walk through the door. You feel like it's football. These coaches' shows make it feel like it's football season, and we kick them off tomorrow night. Once again, I want to thank my sponsors, all of my sponsors, from Best Private Investigations. Give them a call at 321-508-4492. Uberzati, 9 Round, and, of course, Beach Wave Volleyball Club. So, for Caleb Brown and Anthony Nachreiner, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski. You've been watching BSN Sports Talk. Have a great night. And, folks, as always, make it a sports night.